Welcome back to Midnight Disclosure. Tonight, as we continue tonight's sleep story, we're back again in the desert of New Mexico. Summer of 1947 was not only an unusual event in Roswell, but the start of a legend that would carry on for generations. For the people of Roswell, the memory would never fade. Ranchers remembered military vehicles driving down dirt roads, troops raising whole fields, and armed men keeping curious locals off. Mac Brazel himself, the man who initially discovered the wreckage, was interrogated repeatedly. Friends reported that he returned shaken, no longer wanting to discuss what he had witnessed. It was as if a silence had been imposed upon him like a burden. Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who initially dealt with the wreckage, carried this memory his entire life. Decades later, when he finally testified, his voice was firm, unyielding. He explained that he held in his hand something unknown to mankind. Metal with a memory, beams inscribed with cryptic markings. He testified that the balloon theory was just a cover-up, and he was not alone. After a while, more voices came forward. Nurses, contractors, military personnel, who were no longer in uniform, and locals all recounted what they had seen. Some spoke of peculiar crates being delivered to the base hospital. Others mentioned hushed voices discussing bodies that were too small to be human. These were no works of fiction. These were quiet admissions, which came from people who had held secrets for decades. The testimony of bodies is among the most frightening. One man recalled his father, a man who worked close to where the crash occurred, talking of beings with large heads and spindly arms, unlike anything he had ever seen. Another mentioned a nurse who said she witnessed a medical examination of a small gray being. She talked of doctors panicked and not knowing what they were dealing with, their voices strained with fear. The nurse herself vanished shortly thereafter, switched suddenly and never heard of again. If this is true, then Roswell wasn't merely about technology, it was about life itself. Evidence that entities from outside the Earth had made it to our planet, and that the U.S. government had acted quickly to cover it up. Roswell reappeared in the 1980s and 1990s. Dozens of witnesses were interviewed by investigators. TV documentaries kept the matter in the limelight. The tale went past New Mexico, finding its way into international culture. Roswell was no longer a local enigma. It was the UFO case, the basis of contemporary alien mythology, and still, with every new cycle of scrutiny, the government provided changing explanations. First, a weather balloon. Years later, Project Mogul, and yet, still nothing to account for the bodies. Officials never spoke to that aspect of the narrative, as though silence could wipe it away. But silence made only for belief. The more witnesses who testified, the larger the story grew. Some said the recovered craft had been shipped to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at Dayton, Ohio, and stored in the mythical Hangar 18. Others said it was shipped west, camouflaged in the secret hangars of Area 51 in Nevada. Wherever it ended up, they said, it was examined, taken apart, and sealed from public sight. And if alien bodies were captured, what was done with them? Were they stored in cold storage, held in subterranean vaults, analyzed for their biology? Some versions even said that one of the beings lived for a short time, held under captivity. Whether or not these were true, these tales sowed a seed of wonder and alarm. If we had evidence of alien life in 1947, what has been made of that knowledge in the intervening decades? The world we know today teeming with jet planes, satellites, microchips, and lasers came with breathtaking rapidity following the mid-20th century. Some researchers wonder if Roswell was the catalyst. Did we advance so rapidly due to human ingenuity, or due to something quietly gleaned from a desert crash? For the skeptics, Roswell is just a mistaken identity, blown out of proportion by the passage of time. To believers, it is the smoking gun, the moment when the truth escaped before being covered by a series of denials. Both concur on one point: the Roswell events altered the world, though we still do not know precisely how. Tonight, as you sink further into sleep. Visualize the night sky in 1947. Lightning ripping across the horizon. A disc-shaped vessel, damaged and crashing, spilling odd detritus onto the sand. Soldiers laboring by floodlights, collecting not only wreckage, but something much more fragile, small bodies lying still in the night. Visualize the clandestine, urgent orders, the threats never to tell, and picture, too, the burden of the witnesses who had borne their memories in silence for decades, until at last they were unable to hold them anymore. Roswell has never been about evidence. It has always been about potential. The potential that we might not be alone. The potential that, for one fleeting moment, the proof of that fact lay scattered across the New Mexico desert. And the potential that even now, locked away in vaults and hangars, lies the greatest discovery in human history. What do you think? Was Roswell only a weather balloon? A miscommunication inflated by rumor? Or was it when humanity first brushed the reality of another world? We at Midnight Disclosure leave it to you. Post your comments below. Tell us what you think really went down in Roswell, New Mexico. For the moment, let the mystery sweep you into dreams. The desert is still again. The wreckage has vanished. The bodies, if they ever existed, lie somewhere out of mind. But the questions linger, awaiting that day when truth is finally told. Until then, sleep tight, dream deep, and keep in mind, the answers sometimes are hidden, not among the stars, but here on Earth. Good night, from Midnight Disclosure.